This next cojones goes to a man who's dear to my heart for standing up for stand-up. When dozens of Netflix employees walked out over Dave Chappelle's reckless decision to perform comedy on his comedy special, CEO Ted Sarandos could have pulled the special and replaced it with more episodes of Who Wants to Watch Koreans Get Killed. But instead, he reminded his Netflix employees that comedy exists to push boundaries and told them if you'd find it hard to support our content breadth, Netflix may not be the best place for you. So, for making the phrase, "Don't let the door hit you in the never sound better," this is for you, Ted.
Here's something that doesn't get said enough. In today's cultural climate, saying the wrong thing or even cracking the wrong joke can get you torched faster than a Twitter thread gone viral. And nobody has been hammering that point harder, or more relentlessly, than Bill Maher. Love him or hate him, this is a man who has built an entire career out of poking holes in hypocrisy, especially the kind that hides behind hashtags and manufactured outrage. And this time, he's going after the self-appointed guardians of morality. Hollywood's woke elites. Twitter mobs. And college students who've somehow convinced themselves that being triggered is a personality trait. But here's where it gets genuinely interesting. Maher decided he was done just ranting about it. So instead, he did something nobody saw coming. He created an award show not for the usual crowd collecting Oscars for crying on cue or delivering climate speeches from the red carpet. No, this one was for the rare few who actually stood up to the mob. The ones who didn't delete their tweets. Didn't bend the knee. Didn't grovel for forgiveness just to stay relevant.
So that was the point of the evening. How do we take a stand against cancel culture? And I suggested, since we were mostly all in show business, that we start an award show to honor the brave people who have fought back. Well, I gotta tell you, the idea was met with great enthusiasm by everyone. And in short order, different people were suggesting the ways that their varied talents could be put to use. And then, of course, being Hollywood, nothing happened. But it's still a good idea, so I'm gonna do it right here, right now, and not only that, we're gonna do it every year.
Sounds crazy, right? But stop and think about it for a second. Isn't that exactly what's missing? Real courage. Real backbone. Not the kind that gets you a standing ovation at the Vanity Fair after-party, the kind that makes people actually respect you. Take J.K. Rowling. This is a woman who created a cultural phenomenon from scratch, sold hundreds of millions of books, built a billion-dollar empire, inspired an entire generation to fall in love with reading. And yet, what is she today? Public enemy number one of the woke mob. Why? Because she had the audacity to suggest that maybe, just maybe, being a woman is more than lipstick and pronouns. Shocking, right? Suddenly, the very people who grew up idolizing Harry Potter turned around and declared the woman who wrote it a bigot. Cancel her. Burn the books. Erase her from history entirely. It's a modern-day witch trial, except now the torches come in the form of hashtags and outrage think pieces.
But there's no getting around the fact that what was on the mind of the liberals that night in Brentwood, or wherever we may have been, was that the most powerful witch hunters now were coming from Twitter, the Ivy League, and the progressive left. J.K. Rowling used to be a villain to the right because she wrote books about witchcraft. Now she's a villain to the left because she has the crazy belief that there's more to being a woman than pronouns and lipstick.
And Rowling is far from alone. Elon Musk was once Silicon Valley's golden boy, the visionary who was going to save the planet with electric cars and rockets. The moment he said something that wasn't pre-approved by the progressive playbook? Overnight villain. Joe Rogan, same story. He was the cool, edgy podcaster that progressives loved, right up until he started asking the wrong questions. Then suddenly he's a dangerous misinformation machine. And then there's Maher himself, a liberal firebrand for decades, now considered too problematic by the very crowd that used to cheer him on. Notice the pattern? It's not about your values. It's not about your track record. It's about compliance. The second you deviate, you're out. That's the real brutality of cancel culture. It doesn't care what you've built, who you've helped, or what you stand for. Step out of line once, and they'll treat you like you never existed at all. So Maher said enough. Let's start celebrating the people who actually show some courage. And the first award he hands out goes to Martha Pollack, president of Cornell University. Because if you've been paying attention to college campuses lately, you already know they've basically become daycare centers for adults. Students demanding trigger warnings before lectures. As if college, the one place specifically designed to challenge your thinking, is now too dangerous for ideas.
Our first award goes to the president of my alma mater, Cornell University, Martha Pollack. This month, students there demanded trigger warnings before all the lectures in case any of the adult subjects you specifically went to college to learn about came up. And Martha said, yeah, no, we're not doing that. She didn't cave in. We'll hire a new dean of sensitivity. She just said, no, college is for introducing you to new ideas, not for kissing your and making you feel wonderful and always right.
Think about that for a moment. You're paying $70,000 a year to avoid discomfort. But Martha Pollack wasn't having any of it. Students demanded warnings, and she looked them straight in the eye and said no. No new dean of sensitivity. No designated safe space for every uncomfortable thought. Just no. College is for learning, not coddling. And you know what? That single word, no, took more genuine courage than half the Hollywood speeches we've sat through in the last decade combined.
You're thinking of brunch with your parents. I'm just amazed at how this generation can simultaneously be too sensitive for anything distasteful and somehow also so into eating.
And Maher nails it perfectly. If more universities had that kind of backbone, we'd be raising leaders instead of fragile ideologues who collapse at the first sign of a challenge. Think about the contradiction here. This generation prides itself on being edgy, liberated, unapologetically bold. They'll post the most outrageous, degrading content on TikTok for a handful of likes. But the second you say something that doesn't fit the approved script, outrage, tears, demands for cancellation. How do you reconcile those two things? You can't, and Maher isn't letting anyone pretend otherwise. Next up on his list, Trader Joe's. And this one is almost too good. For years, Trader Joe's sold quirky products with culturally inspired names like Trader Jose's for their Mexican beer line. Nobody cared. Nobody was offended. And then one teenager on Twitter decided that was racist. Suddenly there's a petition. The mob is mobilizing. Everyone expects the company to fold, issue a lengthy public apology, and rename it something like beverage from unspecified region.
Our next award goes to the place where many Cornell grads will be working next year, Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's, who for years have been selling a line of ethnically themed products, trading on the name Joe. For example, they have Trader Jose's beer. So, of course, one teenager on Twitter heard the word Jose and said it was racist, and then there was a petition, and then Trader Joe's management did the right thing. They burnt down all their stores and killed themselves. No, they didn't. They said, "F off, you oversensitive little sh."
But Trader Joe's didn't play the game. They looked at the mob and said, no, these labels aren't racist. We're not changing them. We don't make business decisions based on online petitions. Full stop. And here's what happened next. Nothing. Customers kept shopping there. The brand didn't collapse. Revenue didn't tank. The mob screamed for about 48 hours and then quietly moved on to the next target.
Had a life and a sense of humor and released this statement. We disagree that any of these labels are racist, and we do not make decisions based on petitions. You see how easy it is? So to the home of the 19-cent banana, here, have some nuts.
And that right there is the lesson. Cancel culture has no real power unless you hand it to them. Stand your ground for just a couple of days, and the outrage fizzles out on its own, because the mob has already found the next thing to be furious about. That's what Maher has been saying all along. Stop apologizing. Stop groveling. Stop letting people weaponize manufactured outrage to control you. Because the mob doesn't actually want an apology. They want submission. And the moment you give them that, they'll just keep demanding more. Now, Maher didn't stop at universities and grocery stores. He turned his full attention to Hollywood. Let's be honest, Hollywood is ground zero for virtue signaling. This is the same crowd that swore they'd leave America if Trump won the presidency. Remember that? Miley Cyrus, George Lopez, Eddie Griffin. All of them promising to pack their bags and go. 4 years of a Trump presidency passed by. And guess what? They're still here. Still sipping champagne in Beverly Hills. Still walking red carpets. Still cashing enormous checks. Not a moving truck in sight.
Just like there's a long list of liberal celebrities who swear they'll go if a Republican is elected, and no one ever does. Miley Cyrus once said, "I am moving if Trump is my president. I don't say things I don't mean." Here she is looking miserable, having to endure America at the Grammys last Sunday. I guess she flew back from Tajikistan.
It's all performance. Empty words engineered for clout and nothing more. Hollywood celebrities love to talk about courage, resistance, and moral conviction. But the second their careers or their bank accounts are genuinely on the line, those convictions evaporate. These aren't thought leaders. They're entertainers. Their moral compass points wherever the applause is loudest. And Maher drove that home with the sharpest example he could have chosen: comedy. Comedy has always thrived on pushing boundaries. That's not a flaw in the art form. That's literally the entire point.
In 2016, Eddie Griffin said, "If Trump wins, I'm moving to Africa." Apparently very slowly, because in Trump's 4 years, he only got as far as Van Nuys. George Lopez once said that if Trump won, he won't have to worry about immigration. We'll all go back. George Lopez still here.
Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, Joe Rogan, even Rob Schneider. Comedians who dared joke about the wrong thing suddenly treated like criminals. And yet, here's the irony: comedy is one of the last places on earth where real truth still sneaks out. Because behind every so-called offensive joke, there's almost always a reality that people are simply too scared to say out loud. Comedy doesn't create the uncomfortable truth. It just holds a mirror up to it.
This next cojones goes to a man who's dear to my heart for standing up for stand-up. When dozens of Netflix employees walked out over Dave Chappelle's reckless decision to perform comedy on his comedy special, CEO Ted Sarandos could have pulled the special and replaced it with more episodes of Who Wants to Watch Koreans Get Killed. But instead, he reminded his Netflix employees that comedy exists to push boundaries and told them if you'd find it hard to support our content breadth, Netflix may not be the best place for you. So, for making the phrase, "Don't let the door hit you in the never sound better," this is for you, Ted.
Maher pointed to Ben Stiller in Tropic Thunder, a film that's been under attack by cultural scolds for years. And what did Stiller do when the pressure came? He looked them dead in the eye and said, "I make no apologies. I'm proud of it." That's it. No lengthy statement. No crisis management team. No carefully worded Instagram post. Just total, unapologetic defiance. And his career? Still intact. Still getting work. Still fine. Because the mob is only as terrifying as you allow them to be. If you stand your ground and refuse to flinch, they have nothing.
You know, when movie lovers get together these days, one phrase that comes up a lot and always makes me sad is, "Yeah, you couldn't make that one today." Top of that list is the great Tropic Thunder, which the scolds have been after for years. But in February, Ben Stiller tweeted, "I make no apologies for Tropic Thunder. It's always been a controversial movie since when we opened, proud of it and the work everyone did on it." See, people, it's not that hard. He said it, and he still got a commercial. And the lesson is, if you stand up to the mob for just a day or two, their shallow, impatient, immature, smartphone-driven, gerbil minds will forget about it and go on to the next nothing burger, and you still will have your cojones.
And that's Maher's ultimate point, the one that ties everything together. Cancel culture is smoke and mirrors. A loud, angry, shallow storm that blows through in a day or two and leaves almost nothing behind. If you have the guts to stand your ground, you'll come out the other side just fine. But if you fold, if you bow down, if you start apologizing for things that never warranted an apology in the first place, that's when you lose. Not just publicly. Permanently. So when Maher roasted Hollywood, it wasn't just for laughs. It was a genuine reality check for everyone watching. Stop treating celebrities like moral authorities. Stop feeding cancel culture the power it doesn't actually possess. Look at Martha Pollack. Look at Trader Joe's. Look at Ben Stiller. Resistance works. Courage pays off. And right now, more than ever, we need people who are willing to stop bowing and start standing. Because here's the truth that nobody wants to admit: defiance isn't dangerous. It's necessary. And if we lose the will to push back, we don't just lose comedy. We lose free thought. We lose common sense. We lose the ability to say anything real at all. So drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Do you think Maher is right? Does cancel culture only have as much power as we hand it? Or do you genuinely believe the mob can still destroy careers? I want to hear where you stand. And if this breakdown hit different, smash that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who still thinks Trader Joe's is problematic. Because if there's one thing cancel culture cannot survive, it's people who refuse to be afraid of it.